is still there, but maybe less than. But to talk about humanitarian crisis so much is to find an entry point, an easy entry point into that crisis, and then shaping it the way some people want, given how they have been relating to this history I'm talking about all along before. You cannot talk about just crisis or humanitarian crisis without highlighting the root cause of that. And people have always avoided bringing up matters to do with the root cause, because in the end it exposes people like that. So there is always a way to shape things in a manner that there is effort to protect themselves, the people I'm talking about. And is it a new crisis in Eastern Congo or in Goma or around Goma? You remember this crisis, I have said this before, and you have heard it even from other people, or you know it yourselves. This crisis was there 2012, came back 10 years later. Why can't people try to understand? What is it? How can you have a problem 2012 and 10 years later you have a repeat of the same problem? It means, but yet for those 10 years we had this international presence, and many years before that, supposedly to address these problems. So much money spent, so many people involved, people losing their lives in big numbers, refugees, people displaced, and but life goes on like that until we are visited by the same problem, and then we start running around like this is a new thing. I mean, the amount of hypocrisy and even double standards and real insensitivity of some of these powers that we know, who are associated with the cause of these problems, or who accompany the crisis in a way they have chosen, and in the end they are the ones making so much noise about, they look like they are really hurt by the suffering of people. These are people touched and offended by people suffering. But this is just trash of pretense. If you are like that, you have heard people talk about values, you see our values, blah, 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 but it's a lot of nonsense. If you have the power of everything, whether political, money, or whatever, and then every day you're talking about values and so on and so forth, and even want to teach others how to respect values, yet you are the cause of the suffering, and you are the cause of the perpetuation of that. What kind of pretense is this? And you can't just, so when you see these people, coming out with a lot of anger on this and talking about, you see us, you've made a mistake, we are going to do this. In the end, all they are doing is adding more suffering to the suffering that is already there. It's not actually addressing any problem. So Goma, but if anyone wants Goma, that's fine. For whatever reason, whether it is ritual or, some believe in witchcraft, they would want to go and pray in Goma and meet their witch doctors there and so on and so forth. Still, you know what? Goma it's not functional as of now, but it is in the hands of some people. You go and talk to them. But if I were the one, now let me be myself, let me tell you a story. If I were the one, you come and I'm the one controlling Goma, and you come to say, I want to use Goma. I say, fine. But these are conditions. Goma is part of my problems that I face with the government. And now it is in my hands. I will not give it to you until you show me, alongside that, how you address my problems. Well, I may sound speaking for these guys, but I'm just reasoning. If I were the one, you want Goma, you want Kavumu, or Bukavu, or you want the whole of Eastern Congo back, fine. I have no problem with that. It will only come with you addressing my problems. Yeah, you understand? In my long history, in my judgment, that is what I learned over so many years of fighting for my rights and for, people have, they sacrifice, they do what, but unless they have no reason they are sacrificing, that's a different issue. But if they are, everything should be put together. You want this, I'll give it to you. I have no problem. But we came to this point because of this reason. So if you don't address that reason, how do you just expect you cause problems? And then you come and say, and this I'm saying because, again, for me, what you see is what you get. We used to tell the Congolese from the beginning, when we would be in the discussion and it's like you see leaders behaving like, it's like, you must do this, you must do that, and they are the cause of problems. So I used to tell the leaders of Congo that asking, or in order for us to have security in our country and have peace, and that we have fought for so many years in the past, it's a must. We must give each other peace. I can't ask anybody for peace as a favor they are doing to me. No. For us to have peace, I beg you, and you have to do me a favor to give me my peace. That's a different world I don't live in myself. I cannot ask anybody to do me a favor to have Rwanda secure or to have my right. Well, initially maybe I can ask you to do a favor, tactically, I can say, please, I beg you, I can even kneel down if you want. But if you don't give me my right, then it means a fight. We will fight, no question about it. So there is no way, where I'm concerned, you can do me a favor for my right. Who are you after all? Who are you to have everything, including my own right, that you can control? How? Who are you? What gives you that right or power to be able to do that? So I've given you more than you really wanted, but Goma is part of the problems we have in Eastern Congo. And yes, Goma should go back to its operations as an airport. But what is it that stopped it being so in the first place? So you must address that. You want to address humanitarian crisis. I agree. There must be a way of doing it, taking on board the fact that there is what is causing the humanitarian crisis, and that must be addressed. Right? So, anything else about Goma?
Well, somehow there is also another side of the whole story that has been kept repeated, especially now it's still alive in Europe. It's about the looting of minerals and all of that. I mean...
Again, that is nonsense.
Exactly.
They looted minerals better than anybody, worse than anybody I know of in history. So would you even listen to that? Minerals? Minerals, they sell minerals in, what is it? In Antwerp, in where is?
Antwerp. Diamonds.
Diamonds.
But there are no
Do they produce diamonds? Or they have gold, bullions they took long ago and they are adding more? Do they have a lot of gold really? Do they have gold mines? These Europeans? They take it, okay. To make their case even simpler or less than it is, they may even say, no, but the gold or the diamonds or whatever we have is brought by legitimate people, okay? Would you believe that? But that legitimate, when they are there, they are the legitimate ones. So, but this whole thing, why do you think, by the way, there is something to do with there is an MOU actually we're supposed to be having with Europe, which involves, I think, and a lot has been worked on about traceability and so on and so forth, okay? Rwanda got involved in that. and passed every stage and standard that was expected on that. Now, what is funny and contradictory is, at some point, then DRC goes to Europe and says, no, don't sign anything with, but how do you not sign anything that was supposed to be transparent and show where the minerals are coming from, or who is involved? So on one hand, you want to be clear that there is nothing except that Congolese always passed through here, and some sold it here to Rwandans who went and sold it to somebody else. Others, they said it through Burundi, through Uganda, through the neighbors. But it is only Rwanda that was picked on about minerals. Simply because, I think with the audience back home in Europe, they listen more to these accusations. The more they hear of them, then the more questions they raise about Rwanda. Whether what they are saying is happening or has happened or not. So minerals, really think, okay, FDLR, that actually at some point was in control of Goma, or the surroundings of Goma. Why are they found to be innocent in the whole equation? And yet every day we point out things to do with FDLR. But they are not interested. They say, no, they are few. Well, if they think they are few, they should come here. We will we give them face-to-face conversation with those that have been brought from Eastern Congo recently. They will tell them the stories. But do you think they even want to do that? Haven't some of you journalists, maybe, I hope you're also not selective about what you want to know. Haven't you asked to go and meet these people who have been brought from Congo, the FDLR, to tell you their stories that show you how they are so embedded and intertwined with the Congolese forces and other systems of government? So that plays behind the scenes role, and you don't see it at the forefront being talked about. In fact, some of these FDLR have been doing mining in Eastern Congo. Where do they take their minerals? Maybe those are the minerals that end up in Europe, but they would rather hold Rwanda responsible based on the stories around minerals. What sense does it make? You know, don't, sometimes we overrate people. We overrate them in a sense. We think they have, when it has been said by Europeans or by this, then it must be true. But these are the things they get involved in. Petty things. And without borders. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. President. We have one more question about Goma from Romain Gras of Jeune Afrique. The question says, President Macron said on the sidelines of the G20 that the M23 and those who control Goma airport have not made the necessary effort to reopen it, stating that the administrative conditions have been met by the DRC. What steps need to be taken to achieve progress on the airport issue?
Well, I don't know what is being referred to as the government of DRC having met what? I don't understand. That they met what?
The administrative needs.
What administrative need? To the best of, I don't know what, first of all, the meaning of what he had said. For example, are you aware that the airspace in Eastern Congo is actually closed? You can't overfly. You have people flying from wherever, whether South Africa or going there. Or planes don't overfly Eastern Congo because DRC government closed the airspace. Now you want to open an airport in a closed airspace, and he says somebody has met the standards, administrative standards. I don't understand the meaning of it. Second, those M23 and others who control what? Who control them? You mean M23 who control or M23 and others?
And those who control.
Ah, okay. Could I equate it with saying, maybe he wouldn't like that, the government of DRC, the FARDC, and FDLR. FDLR actually has a big control in that area. They are being fought every day by the M23, even before those who control the airport come in. So would President Macron wish to say something about FDLR? I don't think so. You know the reason? There is a whole story about FDLR and those others from Europe who talk about the airport, those others who control it other than M23. There are those others from Europe who control FDLR. That's why they are always quiet about FDLR. You see always when issues about Eastern Congo, about Rwanda backed M23, and then when FDLR, they are really whispering. They don't even want anybody to hear it. And then for government of DRC, it's some individuals who get involved in these wrong things. It's not a government. I mean, this is selective way of presenting issues and even wanting to address matters sensitive like that based on how you have selected to handle it. I think it becomes part of the problem, by the way. That's why I was saying those others, other than those who control the airport, but from Europe, have been part of this problem as of origin of 31 years ago tragedy we had here. You've been associated with that. maybe with time, if those things keep coming up, and the way they have been, we will say more about that. I think if they think we can be silenced, to not talk about their historical role and responsibility in matters of tragedy here in Rwanda, and which crossed into Congo, and people are there, you see hate speech, you see all kinds of by leaders. And those others in Europe tend to minimize it and don't even want to talk about it. But then they talk about Goma, M23, and the others who control it. Who control both? I mean, I guess they mean who control M23 and who control Goma. Yeah, but there are those others also who control from the same place where the voice came, who control government of DRC and control FDLR. And that's why FDLR, people keep quiet about it. But, well, if they want us to roll back the whole efforts of the understanding of how we should relate based on their involvement in the tragic history of this country and the region, they are welcome.
Thank you, Mr. President. Next question for Lionel.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Lionel Ditalier from Pan-African Review. My question will be about Africa's security in more broader terms. At the recent Land Forces Commander held in Kigali, you noted that Africa still faces the world's the most active conflicts, and that the response is constrained by external bureaucracy and decisions made afar, even when speed and autonomy are needed. At the same time, Rwanda's interventions in Mozambique and Central Africa show us what African-led solution can achieve when partners trust each other and act decisively. So in light of these contrasting realities, what do you think are the reforms required for Africa to be able to strengthen its capacity to respond on its own terms? And how do you see Rwanda's interventions or partnership shape that future?
Yeah, it's an important question, but very difficult. Again, I think if I remember the saying, you can take horses to the well to drink water, but you can't force them to drink. You take them there, but it is the horses to drink the water anyway. If they don't want, you can only stand by and watch, isn't it? So I think Africans, we have everything. We have the water in front of us, and we are thirsty, we should be drinking. But we find an excuse for not drinking the water. I don't think we need anybody coming and whipping us into that. So when the Africans decide to drink the water that they actually badly need, I have no medicine. I can't. The only thing we try to do when we collaborate with our brothers and sisters on the continent, like in Mozambique or Central African Republic, or participate in other efforts, We are only trying to say we can drink the water. We are actually drinking the water based on our thirst for it. Well, and then it's like saying, why don't you? Telling somebody else, why don't you quench your thirst? So, I don't know. There is nothing Africa doesn't have, actually. All these things, or these areas where we fall short, I can only be surprised and say, why? Why do we keep falling short on everything, including the provision for security for our people? When we have the people, we have the resources, we have the knowledge, we have... what is it that Africa doesn't have? Tell me. We have good weather, maybe that's what spoils you. We have... what don't we have? Numbers, we have 1.4 billion people on our continent. So what do we want? No? What else do we want? Or what do we lack? So that is... this is it's a pathetic situation. Yeah. I don't think I have helped you to understand what you can do, but not for lack of trying. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. We take one question and then go to break from Anangwe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Eugene.
Maybe why don't we continue a little bit, then maybe another 15 minutes and then take a break.
Eugene Anangwe, we're CEO, founder, East Africa Media Group, and the Africa Leadership and Dialogue Institute. Mr. President, my question is on leadership. And I listened to you keenly at the recent Unity Club forum, where you challenged Rwandan leaders to reflect on what's holding Africa back. And I remember you talking about feeling that this is linked to leaders who pursue individual gains. For the close to 20 years I've been in Rwanda, I reflected on this, especially listening to people who have been serving in different quarters. And when someone tells them, "Nukomeza gucho, urisanga kuri yellow paper," and they say, "Reka, reka, 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 reka." And the reka, reka, reka is not because they don't want to serve, but because of the pressure to deliver that leaders in this amazing country go through.
The pressure to deliver without apology.
Exactly, yeah. Yes. And this brings me to the question of your style of achieving this culture. I know of countries where people will kill each other to get those positions of leadership. But here, not everybody can take that pressure to deliver without apology. So if you were to deliver a lecture at President Kagame's School of Leadership, what would those three things be that you'd say about this subject of servant leadership that happens in this country? And then the East African community, the momentum seems to have died out. Checking on ground, people feel like it's not the same pressure, the same momentum that was there. I know in this room, half of the people might not know who's the current chair of the ESC Heads of State Summit. It's not like long ago where there was a lot of hype around this. Something must have happened, Mr. President. I don't know if you also feel the same. What is that might have happened? And what do we need to do to be able to bring back that momentum that we had about this fastest growing regional economic bloc? Thank you.
Well, to start with the last, I think you hire different people. You hire different leaders and see if they can. But leadership is a broad subject and always discussed in every corner and part of the world. It doesn't mean one thing. Many people have different definitions or interpretations of what should happen. I'll give you my take. It's so simple. First, leadership isn't about just serving yourself and being proud that you've done something for yourself, except you can do that only if you are delivering something. Because if you are leading people and you are delivering and you see the benefits reflected in the lives of those people, then you can have personal satisfaction and pride. So this is different from what I started by saying. If you lead and you're so much involved in what you can do to benefit yourself, that's the opposite. I can only serve to benefit myself by being satisfied that my role as a leader is benefiting those I lead. Well, but that then becomes the theory, the broader theory or philosophy of leadership. But we also know that more importantly, there is the practice of it, the real tangible results you can see and hear from people. That makes the biggest difference. So with that understanding, which I think many people have, the rest becomes a choice of how you are going to live your life and the purpose of any service or leadership role you may be playing. We can learn the theory, but in the end, the practice is ours. Yes, you can study and have degrees bestowed upon you about leadership, and you can be an expert and be there actually teaching leadership, and everybody moves out of the room energized and feeling on top of the world. But the moment you step out of the door, the choice is yours. How you use that energy to fulfill the obligations that the theory was talking about. So it's not an easy thing. So you can therefore have this and match it on to what you asked about East Africa or whichever entity or institution. We have to keep trying, we have to keep challenging one another on the basis at least of this theory, and then tying it with the practice and say, but we are saying these right things in this institution, but the practice seems to be coming out differently. So you have to agree that's how issues of accountability come in, because people they understand the theory but have failed on the practice, and they are causing damage to those they did. And therefore, that's when you say, if you are found to be doing this and you run into this and you are causing suffering, then measures should be taken. By doing it intensively, I think you reduce on the damage that is caused by bad leadership. So, as you said, at a personal level, I also confess, I tell you, I have no apologies to make for. And then I tell my people, you know it very well. I have said, by the way, when you get tired of me, get rid of me. I'll walk away without any, I will not fight back. If people say, no, you're becoming too much, insisting, both, too much is not just in time. Too much can also be how much you do in time that disturbs people, okay? But accountability and the desire to have results is not for the half-hearted, no. So by nature, I found either I'm doing it, unless somebody shows me saying, what? There's something wrong you are doing. I listen, by the way. I also have ears, I have a sense of trying to listen and learn, but if nobody comes up, and we all agree that what we are doing is the right way to go, on that one, I push everybody in my domain as much as I can. But age is catching up with me, so I have some reduced energy, not like I had 25 years ago. But I still have, I can still bite. I still have some, right.
Thank you, Mr. President. Vincent?
Marco's Excellency, Vincent Gassana, Katie Press. Bear with me, sir, I'm going to go back to the DRC crisis, which continues to cause instability, insecurity, and of course, devastation for the people of Congo. It seems to me, sir, that the main factor perpetuating the crisis is what is a determination by certain Western governments to direct away from the attention away from the causes, underlying causes of the crisis, and instead just seeking to make Rwanda some kind of sacrificial lamb for every sin to do with the DRC. Now, I appreciate, sir, that Rwanda does not have the power or the influence of these nations, but it is nonetheless a sovereign nation, a sovereign member of the United Nations, African Union, and other similar bodies. I wonder if there are any mechanisms within these bodies where Rwanda can table motions to hold these governments to account, not just to give Rwanda respite, but most importantly, really, for the sake of the people of Congo who suffer the most from what is a profoundly egregious cynicism, which this government seem to think works in their interest. Thank you very much.
Yeah, again, it's, I can say we are trying, and we'll keep trying. Maybe every day that comes to pass has brought something new, and looking forward to the next. But this is the state of affairs in the world we live in. There are these things that are never straightforward, and much as we may deny it and keep running away from it, it's that saying, having might tends to make people right, or give them the right. We have had this for a long time. They might tend to think they are right, and they don't care, even when they realize that what they are involved in is wrong. But as long as it benefits them one way or the other, they will take that direction. They don't care about it, and especially when it comes to we Africans who are even ready to accept it. It's like Africans, we are happily exploited. We tend to, be so subservient that somebody does wrong to you, and the tendency is for the Africans to be the ones to apologize. You get offended, you get hurt, then you are the one to apologize. And really can't keep blaming somebody else other than ourselves. Why do we? So, but we can't keep quiet. We always raise these issues. I'm sure there are many who are capable of doing that and who want to do that. We all can't be silent in this case. So while our power is limited, it's not like theirs. One, we have to reject it, that we can't just be treated the way we are. The second is we even have some way of fighting back. Fighting back includes to keep exposing the truth about all these lies and the suffering that is brought upon us, we Africans. Of course, that requires you have to have people who are like that, but then above all, you have to have a coordinated effort. That's why there is always a search for Africans. You are talking about, you are from Pan-African something. Yeah, the Pan-African means really working together, finding like minds to, and not accepting that we can, whether at individual level or at a collective level, we just have to. So there is always a moment, there is always a chance, there is always a place where even speaking up and speaking out makes a difference. That's what we have to do. And knowing that most of these crises, actually, when you look a bit underneath, there are things like this. We are talking about Congo a while ago. There's nothing between Rwanda and Congo and the conflict thereof. There's nothing that is just Congo and Rwanda. Underneath, there is a volcano, yes, that you have to contend with. There are these external factors and actors and forces that are operating. So the moment you are conscious of that and keep finding ways to minimize the damage it causes, I think the better.
Mr. President, we'll take one more question coming in from William Wallace of Financial Times. He's asking what is causing the delays to the Washington summit with DRC. If it does go ahead next month, how confident are you in a peace that sticks?
Yeah, that's almost like another question I answered earlier, but what is delaying, I can assure you, does not come from or related to Rwanda. I want to confirm that. it comes from somewhere else. I don't know, maybe the one who asked the question can keep trying to investigate, but nothing originates from Rwanda. But the question I answered earlier is, I mean, people, we have had so many meetings, our delegations have met in Washington, and there is also, I keep bringing back Doha, there is Doha, but they discuss, they are near agreeing something, or sometimes they agree something, and then just out of that place, the next day, somebody is just it's in the open. It's not done quietly. Something, no, I want to do this until you have heard somebody say, we are not going to sign anything in Washington until Rwanda has removed forces from DRC. That becomes, but these are things that have been discussed even before we went to Washington. There was a discussion about that, whether in Rwanda or so. But then you are in Washington, we agree that yes, there are a number of things that are going to be done by both sides, and this is the sequence, and they sign. Our people, delegation, and the delegation from there, they sign. And then after that, the next day, whether still in Washington or back home, they say, no, we are not going to do this until, now they set different conditions other than what was actually done and agreed in Washington. So this is what delays the things. So for us, we've been here waiting. There were many times well, we are hoping that they are saying that maybe beginning of December, I'm not sure that we are going to meet in Washington. I'm not sure whether tomorrow somebody doesn't say, no. For me, I'm not going to Washington because either last night he dreamt or was told by a priest, whether the backward, the old priests or the new ones, that no, it's a bad idea or it's a bad omen to do this. And somebody just says, I will not go. So what can I do? But we are still hopeful that maybe because those bringing us together maybe have some power to move things, but at least for sure they have the intention. So we will wait and keep hoping that it's not just about a trip to Washington, it's about making steps towards finding an agreement that can help us start a process that will bring peace to our region and to our countries.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll now take a 15-minute break and come back.
Maybe 15 minutes or even 10, and then we... But you forced me into a break. I welcome it, and I welcome it anyhow.
turi muri village urugwiro ahari kubera ikiganiro nyakubahwa perezida wa repubulika Paul Kagame agirana n'itangazamakuru. Ni ikiganiro muri iki gice cyacyo cya mbere cyagarutse ku bibazo bitandukanye. Hari ikibazo kijyanye n'umutekano muke mu karere u Rwanda ruherereyemo, ahakomojwe ku masezerano ya Washington. Gusa aha perezida wa repubulika Paul Kagame akaba agaragaza ko uruhande rwa Kongo rukomeza kwirengagiza nkana ndetse no gushaka gushyira mu bikorwa ibikubiye muri aya masezerano. Hari kandi ibijyanye n'uko umukuru w'igihugu yaragaragaje uruhare rw'ibihugu byo mu burengerazuba bw'isi bwitwaza nkana kurengera uburenganzira bwa muntu, ariko kandi ari bo ntandaro y'ibyo bibazo. Muri iki gice cya mbere kandi cy'ikiganiro nyakubahwa perezida wa repubulika Paul Kagame yagiranye n'itangazamakuru, hanagarutse ku ngingo yagutse y'umutekano w'umugabane wa Afurika, aho nyakubahwa perezida wa repubulika Paul Kagame yavuze ko Afurika ikwiriye kwishakamo ibisubizo mu gukemura mu buryo bwayo ibibazo uyu mugabane ifite. Avuga yuko umugabane wa Afurika ntacyo udafite cyatuma udakemura ibibazo by'uyu mugabane. Ku kibazo kandi yabajijwe ku bijyanye n'imiyoborere ye, nyakubahwa perezida wa repubulika Paul Kagame yagaragaje ko uruhare rw'umuyobozi rwakabaye rushingiye ku gufasha abaturage. Turakomeza n'igice cya kabiri, ni ikiganiro nyakubahwa perezida wa repubulika agirana n'itangazamakuru.
Thank you for the break, Mr. President. We'll proceed right away with the remainder of the questions. Let's start with Lacroix.
Hello, Mr. President. Vivien Latour for the newspaper La Croix in France. What are your thoughts on the very likely dismissal of charges against Agirana in France and the link or influence her family could still have with FDLR through Kinshasa? Thanks.
These are some of the things I was saying, how the history, the facts thereof, sometimes they keep playing out back and forth and even leading to minimizing the identity and the effects and the real bad image of FDLR. And you see it playing out in different places and ways. Yeah, in the recent time, years, months, we are aware the son, one of the sons of the son of Agirana, and some of the people who ran away from here, by the way, who live in Europe, United States, and have been active on this agenda of FDLR, and they've been recruited, they are financed, they've been forming different things under the tutelage of the president of DRC, personally, not even, we follow, we see the visits, the many visits they paid to DRC government in Kinshasa, and we follow their activities. They are enabled to get involved in. There are even those who used to be the officials of government who ran away like 20 years ago, again because of association with the FDLR or other activities to undermine the integrity and fail the government so that it doesn't move forward. So you can link these things. You see the FDLR being covered up by some authorities in Europe and elsewhere, then the family of Agirana and individuals who were active in what happened in the tragedy, like his wife, and they are in the courts of law, the cases are treated the way those powers decide. And then those activities leading up to, and then in the end you have people saying, you know, FDLR, how many people are they? You know, really it's like, for us who complain about, when we are complaining about FDLR, these genociders, actually it is not even complaining about them in isolation. They are strengthened, they are made effective by the association they have with for example, the government in Kinshasa or some authorities in Europe who allow this to, and then in the end who openly play down this. So you can put all that together and form a picture of how manipulations and wrong things have been going on around this problem of FDLR, but also how that relates to what is happening in Eastern Congo or in Congo and the noises that are made after that. Then you see resolutions that the UN sort of not bothered about FDLR and not even bothered by those who support them and trying to distance and make them innocent, those who support them. So it is in that form that we see even that case, how it has evolved. It has something to do with all that.
Next question from Theodore.
Hello, Mr. President. Theodore de Queiroz. I'm a French journalist based in Rwanda for the AFP and also TV5 Monde. You spoke about association between FDR and Kinshasa. Could you share us more information about the association? Do you have any clue of that? But also, can you help us to assess the FDR threat in Eastern Congo in terms of number and firepower? Also, as dismantling the FDLR group seems to be one of the key of the Washington Peace Agreement, when will you consider that this group is dismantled? Thank you.
Well, everything I have said, even here, about FDLR and those who they are associated with, explains that. I don't know whether I just have to repeat myself. In fact, I even talked about how there has been talk about numbers as a way of making it. The easiest way to give you numbers, if you operate here, maybe you should find time, they give you access, you talk to these people who have been captured and brought here among the leadership of FDLR, so that you talk to them directly. They will give you. But again, the issue of numbers. By the way, I have seen that, for example, let me give you you know, in Congo, there are different forces. Let's say there are forces of Burundi, big numbers, actually. Last time, since we talked about Goma, that even before, just before Goma fell, Burundi had in Congo over 10,000 troops on the ground. Then you know that there are Ugandan forces in the areas of Ituri, Beni, and so on and so forth. According to DRC, these are invited, so meaning they are there legally. But for the forces, for example, of Uganda, one of the reasons they are legally there or invited is to do with these groups of ADF. Would you be interested in finding out or understanding, or let us understand, in terms of numbers, how many are ADF, to make it such a significant problem that justifies the presence of, let's say, the amount of forces that, the number of forces that came from. Do you have an idea? So, because I suspect there may be a fraction of FDLR, but it is taken seriously by that label put on them, terrorists. You see, terrorists, even when they are 5, they actually do harm, and people take that seriously. So if there are, why no one would take them seriously, knowing that their history, and worse still, knowing that they are associated with a government in DRC. And I mean, this is a public knowledge. Even the way you have heard of hate speech, you have heard of all kinds of things. If you want to know, you must be knowing. So still the issue becomes, how many would they be? How many? So it's like putting me to task. One, it is falsifying the issue of numbers. If we want to know about numbers, there are many. That's very fact. Then, but the essence of saying, how many are they? It's like to say, you are exaggerating. No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about what you said, that is said by so many, including authorities in Europe. I have been asked by some leaders of Europe, how many are they likely to be? When somebody asks me that question, immediately I know he's interested in covering up the problem. And therefore, I associate it with all this I see. I said earlier, when you are talking about FDLR, say the resolutions, the statements made at the UN, they come saying, it is really like a whisper. It is just mentioned in the passing. It's not, but the reason is so that it's like Rwanda should not be taking action against them, which means from there, I can see they are saying they are not connected with the whole history or even their responsibility in what they did here. Well, by the way, they have also questioned even numbers of those who were killed in the genocide. It says, moderate this, and the others are just mentioned in the passing. It becomes an issue of moderate people who died. It's not about the mass of people who were killed in the genocide. This has been a subject of discussion and debate unnecessarily, in my view, for such a long time. So, the connection with between FDLR and the Kinshasa government, my friend, I'm sure you know. And as a journalist, I'm sure you investigate, you should be knowing. I don't know whether I'm being tested to show how much I know, because I'm being asked by people who know. Then we can put it another day.
Next question to New Times.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. My name is James Munyanez. I'm from the New Times. Mr. President, you have previously said that Africa's instability is often the result of leaders failing their people, and that coups are symptoms of deeper governance problems rather than solutions. Mr. President, with the recent developments in Guinea-Bissau and in other places before that, like Madagascar and other areas across Africa, what do these developments reveal about the state of governance?
What is that?
What do these developments, like the coups that we've been seeing, reveal about governance, the state of governance on the continent, and what should African institutions and particularly the leaders of Africa do differently? Because, Mr. President, there's a sense increasingly among young people that maybe you have leaders that kind of protect a club of leaders across the continent that kind of protect each other. So what should leaders of Africa and what should African institutions do differently, Mr. President? Thank you.
You know, first time when I heard about the coup in Guinea-Bissau, even now I'm not sure really what happened. But when I heard it first, I thought somebody was carrying a coup against himself. That was my first reaction. It didn't appear to me like there was a real coup taking place. Even now, I need some time to confirm. But let me assume it happened, or that in Madagascar happened. For sure it happened, because I think somebody's on the run and there's another one sitting there. To begin with, it means I'm vindicated in what I said that you referred to. And maybe we'll have more coups. And so be it. That is my approach to that question. If there are going to be more coups anywhere around the continent, so be it. Because I also believe true, where coups are taking place, there must be something wrong that has been happening, even all along. You can assume, you can read stories, you can see and appreciate and like something, but once there is a coup, maybe 90% plus, it means in that place there has been a problem. People have been not talking about or covering up or something. Now, I don't know whether you want, again, my opinion, which I have. Because what is interesting, some of these coups are happening in a place where these, they are happening in places where these people who make judgment about us, the West, have been praising leaders. Okay? These coups only happen to tell these people you've been telling lies. Tell me, and maybe you can think about it and investigate and find out later, you'll tell me later. If this coup is not a coup against, let's say, in Guinea-Bissau, what do you know about Guinea-Bissau that tells you, you know what? Such a coup should not have happened. What is it? Because, or even go to Madagascar and tell me, you know, They were in Madagascar. They were overseas. Why should the coup have happened? When we ask ourselves the questions in that form, we might then get to understand whether there are underlying problems or there haven't been, somebody just out of madness acted and overthrew a government. So the young people you talked about, you call them Gen Z? Well, why did you go to Z before you went to Gen Zero? I mean, the last resort, maybe. Is that what it means? I'm just guessing. Still, there are an expression that something is amiss. It may not even mean that they are always right. You see? But I would rather than, for those of us who are still around and don't want to be overthrown, we may need to find a way of making these young people responsible also, so that they feel they are part of, and therefore no need to overthrow. You see what I mean? Because there are so many, they can't all also be operating recklessly, collectively. Maybe some young, some hot heads among them can mobilize others, but still to move the whole mass to do something. So before they do that, it's our responsibility maybe to do something so that they have no need to do that. Because where does it end up anyway? I haven't heard, except in a very distant place, but also differently. I haven't had any of these ones go through that process and becomes the leader. So they always end somehow, maybe for another year, for another term, okay? There is a way to do things and to have a conversation in a manner that they become part of. And they become part of, if a country, because countries have problems, mine has problems. And people necessarily do not get everything they want, because there are real problems that people, say this country, if I use my example, wouldn't have everything as they wish to have it. But it is my duty, and for those other leaders of this country, to be out there transparently explaining to people why there are these problems, and show the effort you are making, and also that it involves them to try and deal with this problem. If somebody has a problem they understand, they won't be violent. They'll even be more sympathetic. They'll be a bit sympathetic because they know somebody, let's say you may say you want a road there. People may say, I want to see a road 100 kilometers from here to there, tarmac to road. But if I go to them, I say, you know what? I'm really trying to put this road because I also think it should be there. But the resources we have, the envelope, so small that we have to split it in so many things, hospitals, schools, this and that. So I'm still falling short of the budget to take care of these roads. So please bear with me. And then I will also tell them, you see, in our tax revenues, we are trying to get money from, but you're also not paying up. You are dodging taxes, you are doing this. So please, if you have, I'll make sure that your money, yeah, we'll find a way to making this road. Or, you see, they were used to having these powerful people, the donors, giving money, and they'll tell them, you know what, they no longer give the money. You were used, you were spoiled that these people would provide money, but they are no longer showing up. Maybe they have their own roads to build too, and the money is falling short. So, and say, but bear with me, but let's be together. So if you are transparent, and they understand, they don't have that thing because it's not your problem. It's not somebody who got the money and took it in corruption or something. Why would anybody get angry with me if I have explained like that? But if they suspect, no, but you're not sure, you're not taking your this money for yourself, they will not be sympathetic. They may even terrorize and laugh and clap and like they have listened to me, but in their hearts, they are keeping a grudge with me. Yes. So one day they will show up on the street. If it's the road, it's a hospital, it's this, it's that, and then later on they get news about this man who is not, he's building a castle in Paris or in Brussels or in New York. They will come for your throat. Yes, they will. It becomes only a matter of time. They'll come for, they'll come at you and you'll face it. So, but for the coups, for me, I summarize what I've said before. In a way, maybe, there are good coups and bad coups. There might be a coup by somebody who got high-handed and high anyway, just not handed, but high, and became reckless and thought because he has a gun he will go and take power. That's a bad coup. But if somebody, a group of people say, no, enough is enough. These guys have been telling us lies. They've been doing this. They're enriching themselves. They are cheating us. We can't have it anymore. It's stinking. And they go for whatever form they do it. I think I'm okay with it. I know it'll be misunderstood, but I'm happy to taking the risk. I'm okay with that. But not entirely okay until I see that somebody who did that, or people who did that, and they were sick and tired, and that was justification, until they are seen to be making a difference, then I'll be, I feel settled in my mind. But if you come and do the very things you overthrew people for, or do worse, then why did you carry out the coup? I would say no. another who should go to jail. Yes. Now, it is another tricky part there. You see, there are these coups, people really have a knee-jerk reaction about coups. It's a coup, everybody, that one should face the barrel of the gun. Let's now, before the coups, talk about that situation. If you have a constitutional government led by civilians, and they are killing their own people, they are mismanaging everything, they are taking all the resources of the country for themselves and taking it outside and literally destroying the countries they lead. And then there comes an election after 4 or 5 years or whatever. You know what happens? People should also get tired of this. If you have that record, if you have that history, should it be automatic that you should continue just because you are a civilian and even when you cheat elections? Do you get it? Because it has almost become automatic that if you are there, you are sure of winning the next election. Okay? Even when you are doing all these terrible things to your own people. So, is it justified to say, yes, this one, even to say at least what? At least he's a civilian, or at least he kills a few people, or fewer people, or what? Do you really, can that be a justification? Now, when I'm saying that, there should therefore be a mechanism, maybe at the African Union level, to also hold the people, the civilians, who are messing up their countries and who are cheating elections every other day, and they keep going just because they are civilians and just because they are. But the Constitution does not provide for you to cheat the elections, does it? Again, there's a funny example in our neighborhood. This Congo we are struggling with, we are talking about. This man who raises the whole world and causes all kinds of troubles. When was he elected? No, you seriously, you here, tell me when. First time? The second time? No, you are silent, but you should be giving, you must be knowing something. But the first time, he was just handed over by his friend. Somebody should have had won. This is public knowledge. In this one, there was a smoke screen here about election. But elections did not happen. In fact, you are likely to have a third one. It's coming. There's another third time it's coming back under the same fraudulent thing. But when you see these people who talk about democracy, about everything, and it's like they're the first to send messages, thank you very much, congratulations, and even when they are privy to this information, they know it. Sometimes maybe they even encourage them to do it. They give them a call in the evening and say, you know, please, by the way, I have a company that is looking for cobalt. Are you aware of that? you know, company X that is, can you give them, what do they call it? Concessions. Can you give them? He says, yeah, of course I do. Okay. That is a deal. A deal for cobalt, a deal for winning elections even if nothing happens, or to win even when he has lost. I mean, you must be aware of these things and how they go. So you can crucify me for my crimes, but when it comes to you, as I also said, I talk about it. So why this world we are in, it's not playing ping pong. It's just because at the same time we are talking about lives of people, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Scovia.
Mwakoze nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika, nitwa Scovia Mutesi, ndi umuyobozi w'ikinyamakuru Mama wa Gasabo TV. Nashaka kubaza ku kibazo abacuruzi bafite inganda mu Rwanda uyu munsi bavuga ko babangamiwe no guhangana n'ibicuruzwa bituruka mu mahanga kuko basabwa ko bapfunyika cyangwa package mu bikoresho bitangiza ibidukikije mu gihe bituruka mu mahanga biza muri plastique byaba bifunze mu macupa cyangwa amashashi abifunze. Basanga rero badashobora guhangana nabo ku isoko, bikaba bifite ingaruka ku nganda zabo, aho bamwe bavuga ko ahari bashobora kujya hanze kugira ngo nabo binjize ibisa n'ibyo. Basanga niba ntacyo bitwaye nabo bashobora kubikoresha. Ikindi kibazo nari mfite ni ikijyanye n'abaturage uyu munsi bishimira imihanda itandukanye hirya no hino mu gihugu ihuza uturere, ariko abakora iyi mihanda minini ya kaburimbo ntabwo bashyiraho rigori cyangwa inzira z'amazi zigera mu gishanga, amazi akajya mu ngo z'abantu cyangwa mu mirima, aho usanga rimwe na rimwe bisanga batuye mu manegeka kubera igikorwa remezo cyaje. Ndabashimiye kwa Perezida wa Repubulika.
Well, icyambere kitari n'iki ikibazo uvuze cy'inganda n'abacuruzi n'iki. Ikibazo cya mbere dufite ahubwo nta nganda dufite. Niba twubakaga inganda nyazo byadufasha, ibintu ntibigomba tukagabanya ibiva hanze, bimwe bikaba biri hano cyangwa twe tubyohereza hanze. Aho niho nahera twashaka uburyo byakorwa, kuko hari ibintu byinshi bishobora gukorwa mu gihugu byanajyanwa hanze cyangwa byakoreshwa mu gihugu bidakeneye plastique. Niba naho twaharebaga cyane tukagabanya, ariko kuri ibyo bindi ubwo busumbane buzanwa mu bacuruzi n'ayo mategeko ya plastique, ngira ngo bigomba kuba ikibazo cya mbere bikorwa nabi cyangwa bikurikiranwa nabi. Icyo kibazo kimaze igihe, ndibuka ko kigeze kuganirwa, abantu bagifatira ingamba z'ukuntu, ntabwo ubwo bitumye nibaza aho byahereye, kuko ikibazo cyaraganiriwe cyagomba gufatirwa ibyemezo, ariko ejo nzabisuzuma numve neza uko bimeze. Ejo dufite cabinet meeting, rwose ndumva nzakibaza abantu birimo bakansobanurira. Hari uburyo bugomba kuba buriho ibintu byakorwa cyangwa bikaringanizwa bitakutaje cyane abakorera mu gihugu kurusha abakorera hanze bazana ibintu. Hagomba kuba hari uburyo. Ntibivuze ngo dukwiriye kurekura noneho, kuko nabyo uko byari bimeze twasanzemo harimo akamaro kanini, harimo inyungu nini. Ibyo kuvanaho za packaging ibintu bya plastique, ariko abantu babisuzumye neza bashobora no gushyiraho ingero zitandukanye, ibintu bimwe byakorerwaho cyangwa uburyo byakorwa bikagabanya ubwo bukana bw'abantu batakaza imari kubera ko ibiva hanze nabyo bikwiriye kuba bifite uko bigenda babyongeraho amafaranga kubera iyo mpamvu, kugira ngo nkuringanize n'uwo mu gihugu wishyura ibirenze kubera ko we yabikoreye mu gihugu. Byose ushobora kubishyiraho rwose taxi, ari ukoresha hano nta bundi buryo agomba gukoresha plastique nashyiraho taxi, ariko byagera kubivana uzana plastique ayivana hanze nko kuba kabiri. Ibyo byose birashoboka. Hari uburyo bwinshi umuntu yagenda bisuzuma akabiringaniza kandi udatakaje icyangombwa cyo kuvuga ngo tugomba kugabanya plastique, kuko bimaze imyaka 20 ngira ngo bya plastique bikora. Ntaho mbona byahungabanije igihugu mu mikorere cyangwa iki, nubwo bigomba kuba bifite abo byagiye bibangamira. Ibyo rero byakosorwa. Hanyuma ikindi cyari iki? Iby'imihanda urumva ni nk'ibyo nabyo ni nk'ibya plastique wari uvuze. Imihanda ubwo impamvu abantu bakora batyo nabi bituzuye bikangiza ni ukutabikurikirana, kandi nitwe bigomba kuba biturukaho, kuko ari ugiye gukora umuhanda, umuntu wa mbere utanga ibigomba kuzuzwa n'inde? Ni twebwe dushaka imihanda. Niba twarabitanze hariho cyangwa hatariho uburyo bwo gutwara amazi, ikibazo ni icyacu. Niba twarabitanze nabyo uko bakora imihanda tubifite, umuntu akazaza akavuga ati umuhanda mwanshinze narawukoze nararangije nimunyishyure, bakamwishyura akagenda batabikoze, ni twebwe, ntabwo ari abakora umuhanda. Ubwo ni ikibazo cyacu kigomba gukemuka nacyo byanze bikunze. Uzampa ingero gusa zimwe nakuzimpe, kuko ibyo byombi ndashaka hari inama y'abakuru ba minisitiri ejo.
Hari urugero nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika, umuhanda Kigali-Bugesera, abaturage batuye munsi kandi ubona ko hari amazu afatika abantu bubatse neza, ariko hari za ruhurura ziza zitangira ari umugende w'amazi bikarangira bibaye ruhurura, abaturage basabwa kuhimurwa, leta igatangira gutanga ingurane aho kugira ngo ibe yarayoboye amazi agera mu gishanga. Icyo
kigomba gukosorwa, byo nabyo byanze bikunze.
Thank you, Mr. President. Diva, RBA.
Maybe I'll try to shorten my answers so that we don't spend the whole day here.
Murakoze nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika, nitwa Divin Uwayo, nkorera RBA. Nifuzaga kubabaza ubushakashatsi bwa 14 bw'urwego rw'igihugu rw'imiyoborere.
So while I want to shorten my answers, shorten your question. So that we can have more people.
Yes, Excellency. Nari nkomoje ku bushakashatsi bwa RGB bugaragaza uburyo abaturage bashima cyangwa banenga inzego z'imiyoborere zitandukanye, aho bugaragaza ko bashima urwego rw'umutekano ku kigero kirenga 90%, ariko byagera ku rwego rwa serivisi runihariye igice kigera hafi kuri 50% by'umusaruro mbumbe w'igihugu ugasanga nicyo gice kinengwa cyane, haba serivisi za leta haba n'iz'abikorera, kuko hamwe urwego rwa serivisi abaturage
ubwo kandi namwe murimo nawe urimo n'abandi komeza.
Hanyuma nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika,
twifuzaga kubabaza musanga habura iki ngo imitangire ya serivisi haba mu nzego za leta n'iz'abikorera ibe myiza kurushaho dore ko ari urwego rufashe runini mu cyerekezo cy'iterambere ry'igihugu.
Icyambere abo batanga serivisi mbi bagomba kwiga kubwirwa kunoza serivisi batanga. Icya kabiri, abanyarwanda muri rusange mukwiriye kwanga guhabwa serivisi mbi ukayishyurira ukagenda utanavuze, ugomba kubyanga. Icya gatatu, ni mwebwe kugira ngo tumenye amakuru habeho accountability. Nawe umunyamakuru bishyire hanze ubimenye, uvuti bari bamaze kutubwira umuhanda, urugero umuhanda aho ibintu byiza, amazi yangiza umuhanda, yangiza amazu, n'icyo urwo ni urugero. Nawe butaha serivisi mbi wayiguhaye ninde? Ahangaha ukavuta ahangaha batanga serivisi nabi, even nk'umunyamakuru, ariko murabitinya, murabiceceka mukabihisha cyangwa mugashyiramo abo mufitanye amasinde gusa, abandi mukabihorera. Hari abo mutavuga, mukavuga ababoroheye cyangwa ababangamira ku bindi, ariko mukwiye kubishyira hanze uko bimeze. Hanyuma icya kane, inzego za leta zigomba kubikurikirana nazo ndetse ubwazo, kuko zirimo nabwo zitabikurikiranye nabwo bafite abababaza, ubwo bakwiye kubibazwa. Ariko ikibazo cya serivisi mbi cyo ntigikwiriye kwihanganirwa n'uwo ari we wese. Ariko ndakubwira ntabwo hashize igihe kinini mpora nabyo, aribwo nahuye nabyo kera no mu nteko. Kera twagiye mu bintu bya what was it, national dialogue. Kera abantu bazahamagara abantu bakora bafite amaresitora, bafite ibiki, ngo baze bagaburira abantu bari bageze ku 1000 mu gitondo. Turakora neza akazi, ugeze ku lunch tugira break, nagiye kuyifatira ahandi, nagize amahirwe kutayifatira. So ngarutse mu afternoon usanga barambwira harimo n'abayobozi, harimo n'iki, bose bamwe babajyanye za ambulance ziraho zitunda zijyana abantu mu bitaro. Ndabihorera. Ariko ugasanga nta n'uvuga ati bazanye ibi bintu bamukurikirana ibibazo. Ndetse habaho guhura kundi aho ngaho, bakagarura wa wundi, bakaba ariyo baha ngo atange serivisi zo kugaburira abantu. Urumva biri muri twe, ntabwo ikibazo ari cy'aba bandi batanze serivisi mbi gusa, ariko n'abo bazikoreye nabo arishyura akagenda. Na vuba abantu benshi ngiye mvugana nabo bakakubwira iriya resitora, bakakubwira izina. Ejo bundi twagiyeyo twese uko twari 7, none 4 twese twararwaye, na 2 bari aho bari ku standby bategereje kurwara. Ugasanga ni ikiganiro gusa byahereyeho. Hashira icyumweru, kubera ko aho hantu hari ukuntu wenda hagezweho cyangwa bahavuga neza, ukumva ngo basubiyeyo. Ntabwo serivisi mbi yacika kandi muyishimiye. Ese wowe wahora usubira ahantu baguha serivisi mbi ukishyura, ubwo butishimye se? Ni ikibazo kinini, mujye mukishyira hanze, mukiganire, mukivuge uko kimeze, mureke ku serivisi mbi kwiye kwangwa period. Ikavugwa, ikanengwa, abayitanga bagakurikirana. kurusha gusubirayo baguhaye service mbi.
Next question for Sam.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Short.
Thank you. My name is Sam Karenze. I work for SKFM. My question is about Rwanda and the Arsenal deal through the Visit Rwanda initiative. Arsenal.
Oh, we won last night.
Congratulations.
Did you see it?
I'm also an Arsenal diehard
good.
fan.
So, what is the problem?
After 8 years working with Arsenal through Visit Rwanda, they recently announced that they won't be renewing the contract. Your Excellency, what's the reason behind the decision of not renewing? And if you can tell us about some news around that.
I mean, 8 years is not a short period, I think you understand.
Sure. I mean the news around that the decision is
this one, I got your point.
A result of pressure from European countries.
No, but we still have Atletico Madrid, we have PSG. These are European countries. They are based in European countries. So that can't be the issue. But the issue is maybe sometimes, while for me, and I will continue, it has nothing to do with the contract. I will continue being Arsenal fan, of course. I even go and watch in their stadium football when I have time and so on. But a partnership like that one we had been having for 8 years is a commercial partnership. A commercial partnership can be reviewed on different grounds. Either party may say, I'm not, because it has to be, it was being negotiated every year. It has to be negotiated every season, not every year. We agree, let's say we negotiated like today, maybe it was 2 years or 3 years, then you have another one, whatever period people have agreed. It could be renewal every year, it could be renewal every 2 years or 3. So the reason for renewal is to look at whether new conditions demand different things from either party. I say, no, from my experience for the last contract, we didn't get so much in this area, and we can't be paying for it so much. And the other side could say the same. Can we adjust it like that? So in fact, particularly this one, there was a negotiation that went on. There are adjustments to be made in the contract. And our people and theirs disagreed on a particular thing and said, no, we can't have this instead of this, or which you have been having, or which you were demanding to have. And reached a point where they said, okay, instead of disagreeing too much, you may find another partner who will satisfy you if you don't want to listen to our demands. This is really what happened. I know why maybe the politics you are referring to. So you remember again. I think you should learn many things from what we go through. You remember, even now I don't think they have stopped. You remember DRC went to UK and was repeatedly there complaining about our partnership with Arsenal. and saying, no, you can't do that with the country that is, kinds of things, telling them stories that they went there from the beginning of this conflict. They repeatedly made it an issue. Actually, they also went to PSG. It's not just... so it didn't work. People explained and we continued the partnership. And it was during that time that we even had more partners. You remember Atletico Madrid came later. What is interesting, when it failed, when the DRC efforts failed, they started looking for clubs to have partnership with. So yes, that's exactly what happened. If you saw, I think I saw a game yesterday or the other with the Monaco. Somewhere on the sleeve they have D something. Yes. So you can see you are attacking a partnership and you are saying this, when you fail, you go looking for a similar thing. So which shows really they were doing it just to malice Rwanda, not because there was anything wrong with this partnership. Unless we want to overstretch it and assume that among the people who have influence or who are part of the authorities to decide were Tottenham fans. So you can understand they would want to kill this one. So that is what happened. There's nothing dramatic about it. But at the same time, by the way, if this partnership doesn't work, it means we have opportunity with this money, because it is commercial, we are paying, to open up for another partnership somewhere else. You've seen how we've been even going to, as far as the United States, we are having beautiful partnerships with NFL, with NBA, and more will come. Yes. By the time we realize, we are into many other partnerships.
Thank you, Mr. President. You've given us more than 2 hours. With your permission, we can take 3 more questions.
Let's see here, take some bonus.
Oswald.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Murakoze cyane. Ndagira ngo mbashimire kuri uyu mwanya mumpaye. Sinzi niba mwarabonye raporo yasohotse ivuga ko mu mwaka umwe 2024-2025 abantu basabye akazi bari 1,100,000 birenga. Akazi gahabwa abantu 3,000 gusa. 3,000 kuri 1,100,000.
Bitatu bigomba kuba ariko byaragiye mu kampani imwe cyangwa ebyiri. Ntabwo nibera ko birakireka.
Noneho mu mpamvu zimwe zibitera, inzego za leta zimwe zishyira ku isoko imirimo zigakoresha ibizami, abantu bagatsindira akazi ntibabashyire mu myanya. Hanyuma
abavuga ni mu nzego za leta.
Yego, mu nzego za leta.
Inzego za leta hakwiye kubamo n'abakeya kurusha abo ngabo. Hakwiye kubamo bakeya kurusha 3,000. Leta bose barajyamo bashaka iki. 1,000,000 urayishyira muri leta igihe ikora iki?
Nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika, ikibazo ntabwo ari uwo mubare w'abakora muri leta, ahubwo abo bavunika bakora ibizamini. Ntabwo bose babikoze nabiyandikishe basaba akazi. Ababikoze ntekereza ko bagera muri 500.
No kugira ngo baringanize.
Ariko harimo imvune, hari abakoresha ibizamini wenda nko mu karere kamwe ka Nyagatare. Ugasanga ikizamini kiri kubera i Musanze. Hari n'umudepite ejo bundi wavuze ati kugira ngo duce intege abo basaba akazi bakina, hajyaho amafaranga ku bashaka akazi.
Ibyo byo ni mismanagement, ni imikorere itariyo. Ibyo nyine babishyira ku murongo, ibyo bishobora gukosorwa, ntabwo ari ikibazo kinini cyane.
Hanyuma ikindi nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika, ibirebana n'insengero, abanyirinsengero basabwe kugira ibyo bavugurura, barabivugurura bashyiramo amafaranga, nabyo bigiye gusaza zitarataha.
Iyo bibagewe nta nsengero nafungura n'imwe. N'ibyo dukora tubikora nyine byose kugira ngo abantu nayo insengero muri development, muri ibi byose twavugaga intambara ziri ku isi na survival y'igihugu, insengero zifitemo uruhare iki? Nazo ziratanga akazi se? They are just cheating. Abenshi they are just cheating. Ariko mubahehe mwebwe? Ngewe ibyo mbona ko ari abantu huzuyemo ububande gusa, kurwana n'ababande bari mu churches nabyo nta mpuhwe mbifitiye na busa rwose. Ariko mwebwe abakoroni barabarindagije, namwe murarindagira. Ubu ibintu twirwe tuganira ibintu bya church, ibisengero, wagiye mujye guhinga, mworore, mujye gusenga nushaka usengere kuri telefone. Yes. Churches aho byaturutse ntuhazi, churches ziri ahantu hose ziri, ahubwo ndetse buriya nuko dushaka gushyira ibintu mu kuri, ntitudashaka guhutaza abantu, tugira kwigisha, naho hafunzwe nke.
Ikibazo kirimo nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika, kubera hari uturere tumwe zifunguye, abaturage baturuka mu turere aho zifunze bajya gutera umubyigano.
Naho tuzazifunge ahubwo. Yes, aho ziri ubwo tuzazifunga, bajye basengera mu rugo rwose. Iri senga Abanyafurika mwara.
Niba munyina ikindi kibazo kimwe kirebana n'inyambo, ejo bundi mwagabiye Emile wa Katari inyambo, Albert Rudatsimburwa twaza tuganira avuga ati birakwiye ko inyambo zishyirwa mu murage w'igihugu ku buryo buri official. Ibyo bintu mwese mubitekerezaho bizakorwa ryari?
Muzabitekerezeho mwebwe. Muzabitekerezaho mubikore. Njye mfite inyambo ndazitunze, ndishimye. Uko muzazigenza migirire gute, ibyo birabareba. Yes, njye nzatunga, ngabe, nishime, ko ari amateka yacu se. Mwe mukora akazi ko ibyo birabareba. Muzabishyiremo. Ngewe ntabwo ngiye kubishyiriramo kubera ko ndi umworozi. None se ntufite uko communicating na leta? Mwe muzabikurikirana, ibyo birabareba.
Next, Bloomberg.
Thank you, Mr. President. Onduro Ganga with Bloomberg News. I just have a couple of things I'd like to hear from you. If we look at gold prices, they've hit an all-time high in the market. In the context of Rwanda, IMF projects that by the end of the year, gold is going to account for half of your export revenue, about $2 billion by the end of this year. But in the same breath, we have seen sanctions, particularly from the EU, on the country's main smelter, Kasabo, and some of its executives. So in lieu of the sanctions, what is Rwanda currently doing with its gold? And maybe if you can broaden out that conversation for me, what is the importance of gold in Rwanda's economy? And do you have specific plans to develop the gold industry? Thank you very much.
Do you want to advise those who are applying sanctions? I'm saying, do you want people to add more sanctions to stop that, or what?
No, I want to know if you're not selling it to the EU, because Rwanda also has a really big deal, about $900 million mineral deal with the EU. Yeah. So if they're off the table, if that is frozen, what is currently happening?
There's nothing frozen. There's nothing frozen. You know what they sanctioned? There are individuals who led that refinery. But the refiner operates, right?
So that I don't misquote you, Rwanda is still selling its gold to the EU.
It's selling gold to the market. Whether EU, the Gulf region, or United States. I don't know whether I understand, I'm getting your question properly. But there is definitely gold. We have gold here, by the way. Do you know it? You know a place called Miove? You have heard? During the war of 1992-3, our soldiers were operating in that region. Miove, there is a swamp, you know it? In Chumbi. Our fighters woke up and found some stones they didn't know flowing along the river, and they picked that stuff. And in fact, we sold it, sent it through to Uganda, sold it. It bought us, we were able to buy some meals for a week. Just from the gold we picked. The mining still goes on artisanal, and now they are doing deep exploration to see if there is gold in Nyamagabe area, near Nyungwe. A lot of gold comes from there, and so on and so forth. Then more gold comes from, and gold has been coming through here or sold here from Congo as it goes through Burundi or goes through Uganda. So there's nothing particular about gold and Rwanda that people should blah, blah, blah about. Even the refinery, but you know the sanctions, if you followed the sanctions, they sanctions 2 individuals. What does that have to do with gold? Impact of Rwanda on the market, or well, it must be there. I haven't calculated it, but the impact must be positive, must be there relative to the price of gold going up. I've been seeing it is now at around 4,000. Yes, 4,000 plus dollars per ounce, I think. That's huge. As you see it, you may end up, and it has nothing to do with Rwanda, you may end up having wars around gold, those who need it and those who produce it in the world. And those who have more will get more involved than those of us. We are talking about young or small people. Rwanda always carries the burden of the whole world by itself. You know, there are people doing everything, even in a worse form than probably we're accused of, but they prefer to point at Rwanda for everything. Can you imagine Rwanda being a point of reference to do with this global network of gold trade? You get it clearly that it is politics, it is geopolitics, it is some nastiness that goes on every day. Otherwise, how does Rwanda really surface in all this?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Someone else want
yes,
to?
One last question from Jackie.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, my name is Jackie Lumbasi. I host the Real Talk on RTV. And Your Excellency, what I do on this program is try to bring out the person behind the title. There's a former Prime Minister who was once asked what was the toughest part about his job, and he said the toughest part of his job was parenting his son. And to someone else would think when you're a president or you're a prime minister, that should be the hardest job. I would love to hear from you as a parent. So in this case, putting aside the president, I would love to talk to PK, the father, the grandfather. If you've ever had to struggle with anything as a parent, what would that be? And then with the grandchildren growing, I wonder if you're picking them from school, or dropping them there. What have they done lately that got you smiling? Some of the images that I've seen online of you, the most beautiful images are those of you around your family. So clearly, the family means a lot to you. And so as you also talk to Rwanda's young people about preserving what we have built as a country, protecting what we have, someone could think maybe you're not talking to your children as well. They could try to put them on the side. As you watch your granddaughters grow and the many other grandchildren that will come, how would you like them to view Rwanda's transformational journey and the role that their grandfather has played? Thank you, Your Excellency.
That sounds like a long story to tell. But, well, thank you to in any case, bring it up and reference that. My family, whether immediate or the generations springing from that, first and foremost, the central part of me and what I do and how I do it, but above all, I enjoy it. I enjoy family. I don't find any problems except running around with children so they don't break their legs or fingers or something, but it's all enjoyable, 100%. But in doing that, you want your own children or those from them, as they grow up, to just be decent people in their lives. Decent meaning the core part being what is expected of them in society and by so. But also making their own mistakes and owning up and growing with a purpose that they can live and lead in the society where they grow up in. They must have some bearing, the bearing being the Rwanda, the family, so we would, and for those ones, other than the grandchildren, the children, we once in a while we have a discussion around that. And I have time to tell them my experience, my life, young, middle age, growing up to the age where I am, and all that the family, my wife and I have had to go through to make sure that first we survive and they survive, and so the efforts can't be for nothing. The efforts can only be for the fact that they must grow up as decent human beings as much as they can. I can tell them so much, but only they can do so much. And if they can learn from that, which we always have to insist and they do, well, that's it. And actually the issue of them growing up as president's son or daughter or grandchildren does not feature much. We try to remove that from the conversation as much as we can. They just have to grow up as decent human beings. If they become presidents themselves or become whatever they want to become or become nothing, that's up to them. They know how to live with it. Yeah, so, but it forms a big, big part of my life, and it feeds into the energy to do what I can do, and without a doubt. Another person maybe?
Thank you, Mr. President.
These two, now they are four.
Some of them are raising for the second time.
No, not for the second time, no.
We can go to Jadot.
Murakoze nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika. Biriya abantu mwagarutseho nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika muri iyi minsi, ahubwo nyuma ya COVID biragaragara ko intambara zishingiye ku kwigwizaho imitungo zongeye kuba nyinshi. Ingaruka zimwe za hafi ni uko ibikomoka kuri peteroli birimo guhenda, ibihugu nk'icyacu bidakora ku nyanja, ndetse tukaba twinjiza byinshi birenze bisohoka. Cost of living nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika irimo irazamuka. Nkaba mvuga nti ko bigaragara ko ibyinjira mu gihugu birimo bihagera bihenze, ibikomoka kuri peteroli bigahenda, mu kubigura umunyarwanda ku isoko ibiciro bikaba bitoroshye, ingamba zibacyuho za leta y'u Rwanda zo mu gihe gito cyangwa se ku buryo burambye zaba ari izihe nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika?
Usibye ibyo bibazo biriho kandi bimwe byumvikana tugomba guhora dushakira umuti, reka tubanze tunahere gusubiza amaso inyuma urebe aho tuvuye n'aho tugeze, n'ubukungu actually buhora bukura buri mwaka. Ubu turi mu ba mbere ku isi bafite ubukungu bukura, nuko ari igihugu cyangwa ari ubukungu bukeya gusa. Ntabwo ari igihugu kinini, ntabwo ari ekonomi nini, igihugu gitoya, ariko ubukungu bwacu buhora bukura buri mwaka. N'umwaka ushize n'uyu nguyu biragaragara ko turagenda tujya hejuru iteka ya karindwi n'igice ku ijana. Ntabwo ukwiye kwibwira ko biva ku busa. Niyo urebye n'imibereho y'abaturage mu myaka 20 ishize yakomeje irushaho, abaturage umubare wabo uriyongera, ariko n'imibereho yabo igenda yiyongera, byaba buhoro gato, byabaho byihuta, ariko biriyongera, ntabwo bisubira inyuma. Ibijyanye rero n'ibyo bijyanye n'ubukungu ku buryo bw'ibyinjira ibisohoka bavugaga, ingamba ya mbere ni ukugira ngo ibyo twohereza hanze birute ibyo tuvana hanze. Nibyo byatuzamurira ubukungu kurusha. Tugatubura agaciro, tugatubura n'ubwinshi bw'ubukungu. Izo nizo ngamba. Buri kintu cyose dukora biva mu bintu byinshi bitandukanye. Iyo ugiye kureba no mu bukerarugendo, igihugu gisurwa, abantu bava hanze mu mwaka nyirango ushize barenze miliyoni n'ibihumbi 300 cyangwa 400, amafaranga avuyemo arenga miliyoni 600. Ibi byose ni ibintu dushaka ko bikomeza gukura, ariko birakura harimo ikibazo cyo kirahari kijyanye nuko ufata ibyo ufite ubu ukabigereranya n'ibyo ukeneye ubu, usanga ikinyuranyo ari kinini nyine. Ariko niyo mpamvu abantu bagomba guhora bakora uko bishobotse ku bintu byose. Rero guteza imbere inganda, guteza imbere ubucuruzi ndetse bw'ibiva hanze bukaza bwubaka ibyo dukora mu gihugu. Hari ibintu byinshi tumaze kunyuramo byari bikwiye kuba bitwigisha uko dukwiriye kuba tubikora. Icyo navuga rero ni ugukorana, ni ugukorera hamwe, ni ukugira ngo abaturage n'abatwumva bumve ko ingorane zo zirahari, ariko inzira irahari yo kuzivamo, kandi hari ibikorwa bigereranyije ndetse n'ahandi usanga turi mu ba mbere bagenda bagerageza gukora ibishoboka.
Thank you, Mr. President. We may take one last one from Fola.
I think you have to do a lot of Tombora.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Fola from the Radio Masterclass, Lagos, Nigeria. I want to ask you a question, sir, about women. So in many African countries, women
That
struggle.
must be easy question.
I'm sure that it is. So it's about women and access to reproductive health. I have been in Rwanda for 3 years now, and I have seen from personal experience that Rwanda has actually made significant progress in expanding access, because I can confirm that IUDs that are costing women in some of the countries as much as $300 have been given in hospitals for free here. So my question is, what deliberate policies and investments or institutional reforms did Rwanda do for this to be possible? And what steps would you urge other African leaders to take if they want to replicate this success in making sure that women have this affordable reproductive health services for women? Thank you, sir.
Well, I don't want to advise anybody for avoidance of being misunderstood. But the first thing is for people to have in their minds, one, importance of women as a big part of their society, their population, and make sure that you look at the whole population and you look at the different categories of that population, where it is the young people, it's the women, it's men, that is the starting point. And as long as you put, in some cases you may look at the population, you say, oh, you want your population to be this, to do this, but at the same time you are just doing the ordinary thing, and in most cases you are just thinking about men, because they are the ones who are even at the top there thinking and doing things, as in some cases, due to the imbalance we have had in our politics and society. But if you think of women and their specific needs, but also build their involvement around that, you will get the rest right. Therefore, in thinking about good health for your population, you must be seeing certain things that affect different groups. As I said, children, they have different needs in society when it comes to their health. Then you can say men, but particularly women in this case, and so on and so forth, so that you go fixing. But you are here looking at them under health, but the society that you are managing and that you have to do the best for. This is where it starts from. If you don't start from here, the rest goes wrong. Yes, and so for those who would want to share anything with us, and some of the things we do, we've learned from other people as well, from different places, about different aspects. We learn very quickly from other people, and then so that is, there's nothing so much technical about it in isolation. It is just thinking about health, thinking about your people, thinking about women, and as you think about the rest, the children and the rest, and then you go into these categories and say, what are the specific needs? So under that umbrella and the budget and so on, you break down and create resources for each aspect. That's all you do. But that's the starting point. The rest is to be practical. How do you become practical about doing it and just stop saying it or having information and knowledge about it?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Was there someone who really, it is, how urgent is it?
I think we can start with them at the next press conference. The ones I have not asked.
Who is this? Okay, let's hear from. Who did want to hear from that?
Murakoze nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika. Mfite ikibazo kimwe nshaka kubabaza mpagaze kandi mbashimire murakoze cyane. Nyakubahwa Perezida, mu minsi ishize twabonye intumwa z'i Burundi mu gisirikare n'iza leta zitabira ibikorwa byabereye n'aha ngaha. Ejo bundi tubona impunzi z'abarundi zitaka ubushake zisubira i Burundi. Baravuga ati se haba hari umubano muri iyi minsi cyangwa se ibiganiro byabyiharije kugira ngo imipaka yongere ifungurwe yo ku butaka? Murakoze.
Nta gufungura imipaka iracyameze nk'uko yari imeze, nta kirafunga. Ariko twebwe na mbere hose no gufunga kw'iyo mipaka nta uruhare u Rwanda rubifitemo. Abarundi nibo bahisemo gufunga imipaka, ndetse turababwira ngo aho bazashakira gufungura, twebwe ntabwo twigeze dufunga. Ndetse n'ubu hari abava i Burundi bakaza hano, hari abantu bava hano bakajya i Burundi, hari abagenda na Rwanda, sinzi niba ikijyayo, bagenda so. Ariko hagati aho muri uko gushakisha twabana dute birenze ibi birushijeho kuba byaba byiza, abantu baravugana, twe nta na rimwe tugize dushaka guturana kugira abaturanyi tutameranye neza, ariko bijya biba biraba, n'ubu birahari, ariko muzakurikirane neza ntabwo byigeze biduturukaho na rimwe. Niyo mpamvu ndetse kugenda no kugaruka rimwe na rimwe, twe nta abantu aho bashakiye baraza, bashakiye baragenda. Nabo abaye impunzi, niba duha za UNHCR cyangwa abandi bakorana n'impunzi bakaza bakavugana nabo, niba hari abumva bamaze kurambirwa ubuhunzi bashaka gusubira iwabo, twe tubaha UNHCR ikabatwara. Ntabwo twagumisha hano ashaka gutaha, n'ubundi yaje hano atari uko tubazanye, ahubwo ni uko bahuye n'ibibazo iwabo bagashaka kugira ngo baze babe hano. Nta kintu gishya rero kindi. All right.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Naha ikiganiro cyahuzaga nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika Paul Kagame n'itangazamakuru gisoreje mu gice cya kabiri, hagarutswe ku ngingo zitandukanye nk'uko mwagiye mubikurikira, ariko wenda